New episode. I will show you what I bought. First a cone air filter, 4-inch, and some tail lights, blinkers, fender blinkers, brake lines, these front steering rods, belt tensioner arm and damper, and this wheel, master, clutch cylinder, slave cylinder, rear axle toe-in adjust bars, and these front shock absorber top mounts from the 4-wheel drive model, so you can lower the car more without the shocks hitting in the bottom. 71-degree thermostat, valve cover gasket kit, exhaust gasket, V124 300 TDT radiator, the biggest you can fit on the 190 and 124 models. These rear spindle joints that comes in this hole right here, and these front ball joints for the front wishbones. 4 of these bumper mounts for both front and rear end. These are always broken on these older Mercedes, out in the corners, in every corner around the car. Rear wheel bearings for these bigger rear spindles, and a multi-belt without the air conditioner pump, and that is about all the parts. And I also got this second rear spindle sandblasted and painted. And my sponsor Badassparts Finland got these parts for me. Clutch disc for the big 5-speed gearbox, Tenaki clutch disc, T3 turbo flange, a silicone used one, but good for me, and a hydraulic handbrake cylinder with some CNC water cutted aluminium parts to make the handle off, and intercooler. Just perfect measurements. When I put the silicone bends in both ends, it should go around the radiator. So if you need some tuning parts or anything for building your race car or winter beater or whatever, go check out Badassparts website. Ask some good prices from Badassparts Finland. I have always bought these different racing parts from them. Clutch discs and silicone hoses and different stuff. They have everything you need. I have a lot of old and new, not used silicone parts already here at my garage, so I will show later which parts I will use. And Auto Center Jakobstad, my local spare parts dealer, they went out and sponsored me with some parts for the build. Brake pads for front brakes, front brake discs, handbrake pads, and handbrake wires. This clutch release bearing and oil filter and diesel filter and a small filter for the diesel that comes from the fuel tank. I'm really thankful for Auto Center for sponsoring me. Usually the day after you order the parts, you can get them from their store. And I also got suspension parts from my neighbor Nyman's Grev. They got sandblasted and painted in just 4 days. They have some very good prices on car tires and wheels and such. So if you are from here around, you should contact them to get some nice prices on wheels and tires. And I got some old manual Mercedes transmissions to take this Bellhouse piece from. I rather use these manual boxes because the automatic ones are usually worse quality aluminium. It comes a lot of junk out of it when you start to weld it. So I prefer these manual gearboxes. I have this beautiful masterpiece jig that I've made from some old junk. Just bolts the angle grinder here with this suicide blade, and here I have some bearings so you can flip it like this in a straight line. And then I just remove these and put them in place for different gearboxes. I will start cutting these now.
It's been a long time driving in my fast state. I'm chasing sour whiskey with high test and Quaker State. My motor is a-blowing, I'm passing heaven's gate. Don't wanna die. So I hitch myself a ride on a temperamental flower. She's praying to the sun because it's where she gets her power. Such a beauty born to die, you know, she only needs rain.
So the cutting went good. These two are going in the bin. I will now clean these both parts good, give them a good wash, and prepare for some TIG welding. I use these on the Mercedes piece. There is a line here that is a little bit up from the surface. I use that to line up with this center line on the BMW gearbox. It's not 100% straight, but it's a good thing to know. Then I have this jig, this pipe, which bolts to the gearbox. When you remove that piece that the release bearing slides on, remove that and bolt this instead. And then this will guide the gearbox in this old engine block. We put on the bearing caps, bolt it down, and the sump. And then you bolt the Mercedes piece also in the block. First I will wash these and set them up in the jig. So now I got the parts lined up in the jig. The measurements of these pieces I've got, I usually take a 75mm piece from the Mercedes gearbox, and then it depends on what gearbox you got, what you have to take from the gearbox. On these 500 series BMW's engines, so if you take gearbox from those, you have usually got to take about 105mm, but this was from the E46, so there's a couple millimeters difference on them, but I will use double pilot bearing, so I get a good steering on the clutch axle. If you measure from a stock Mercedes box, so this axle is 24mm from this surface, so it's easiest to make it just like that. So now I'm going to try to weld this to one piece.
So I hitch myself a ride on a temperamental flower. She's praying to the sun because it's where she gets her power. Such a beauty born to die, you know.
The outside is now welded, so I will take it loose from the jig now and weld the inside. And I'm not at all good at welding. I welded one gearbox before. I need to practice a lot to get it to look good, but seems to work at the other car at least. Now it's welded inside out. So now I will put it back in the jig and give it some heat and let it cool down for a day or two in the jig. The gearbox has now cooled down for a couple of days, and I will now do some changes, or I have already done some changes to this release fork thing. I welded on some small, about 5mm pieces here to get a better angle when you push the clutch. Took this plastic piece away that is here, original, and it's supposed to be a spring right here also, but I don't have it now. The hole where the plastic piece was is about 10 millimeters big, so just make a new M12 thread there and install a about 5 centimeter threaded piece there from a bolt or something, and you lock it with 2 nuts. And then you have to also install the slave cylinder here, and then you just take a ruler or something, put it here, and the release bearing. Then I push the slave cylinder all the way to the bottom, and I measure from this here, and it's about 63 millimeters. I have measured before on some other engine that from the engine block here to the spring on the pressure plate, it's 59 millimeters. So you have to have this distance has to be a couple of millimeters bigger, about 5 or 6 millimeters. So then you just adjust with this thread here, so you get the right distance. It has to be some play between the spring and this release bearing, because when the clutch starts to wear out, then the spring will come more back, and if there isn't any play, then the spring will have some pressure on it all the time and the clutch will slip. So you definitely have to check this distance when you press this in. And I also have filled the gearbox now with this Castrol 75 manual gearbox oil. I got this from Auto Center. I use this always in these BMW gearboxes. Works very good. So one huge problem with tuning these old Mercedes is that the drive shafts and the CV joints break all the time when you start clutch kicking and doing some pulls. So these are now from a 210 wagon model, and they have much bigger spline. This that goes in the hubs, in the rear spindles. And for example, here is the stock 190 and 124 model spline. They usually break like this. This piece comes loose from the CV joint. And the stock one is about 27 millimeter, and this one is 30, so it's a couple of millimeters bigger. And I have never myself broke any of these. I've used them in many of my projects before, and they seem to hold pretty good. And for the drive shaft problem, I use these custom-made billet drive shafts that have been hardened, and these have lifetime warranty. I have never heard that these break in any purpose. So I will open these now. I open them. The stock shafts are just cut off, and I will cut here. There's a small spring right here where this metallic cover is pressed inside, and I cut in this spring to get it backwards, and then I bend the shaft to get all the small balls out of it, and then I can take it fully apart and install it on these new shafts. The inner CV joint, I don't have them right now here, but they are just with a sprint inside. It's a rear cover just to take away from them, and it's a sprint inside, and you just swap the CV joints. So it's really easy job on the inner ones. But on these outer joints, you have to cut away this piece and pick them apart one piece at a time, and then do it backwards again. Really dirty job, and sometimes a bit tricky to get them back together, but I will do it right now. I can't really film it because it's so dirty I can't hold the camera or anything, but I can show you something along the way. So now they are opened, and here you can see the sprint or socket, whatever you call it, in the end of the old drive shaft, which you remove like this, and then just pull the old axle out, and I will fill these buckets now with old diesel, because that's very good to wash away the old grease with. So now all the parts are washed, and I pressed the ends on these new axles, and I have to wait until I get the other inner CV joint on the male until I put this back together. But I can show you a good small rule to know when you install these back, that there is this wider level here and this narrower level, or teeth, or whatever you call them. So don't match them with the inner piece like this. You will get it to fit in, but it doesn't move when it's inside. So you have to turn this like this, install it with the balls and everything, new grease and all, and then it will work. The other end is just to open the sprint and press it on, so that's nothing to see. Some more parts has arrived from Auto Center. This is the rear brake covers for the rear spindles, and I'm only going to use this inner piece. It's only spot welded here, so I have to grind them open and take this part away and only mount this part to get these holes and the distances for the original handbrake mounting. And it's important to install these before you press in the wheel bearings, because if you install the wheel bearings first, then you have to cut this and install it and weld it when it's behind the wheel hub. And I also got this Hardy, or whatever it's called, puck that comes between the gearbox, BMW gearbox, and the propeller shaft. And this is a brand new one. I usually use the old ones that are in good condition because they seem to hold up better. But I will try this now. It should hold at least the winter season. Let's see when the dry weather is coming how it holds up. And I also got some 6x9 speakers for the rear and some 4-inch two-way speakers for the front dashboard, and Bluetooth iPhone Alpine player. Everything from Auto Center, Jakobstad. And I also got this new ignition key. Shout out to Dieselmeken. It's from 190 diesel, and it has this small valve right here, which 2 hoses go into. So one is for the vacuum pump and the other is for the diesel pump, the shut-off valve. This is what you need to shut the engine off when you install a diesel engine. And also a little bit longer throttle cable that goes all the way from the pedal to the new diesel pump. So you need a bit longer one because the Coetronic wire isn't long enough to get there. And of course, the one and only, ladies and gentlemen, Dieselmeken pump. 7.5 millimeter elements, 170 cc maximum feed, and outside all the goodies you need. So I will install this to the engine now, and I will not film that any further. If you want to know how to install this, you have to check out the other video me and Otto made on Otto's channel. I will put a link in the description how you install the pump. So one thing I always do before reinstalling the glow plugs is checking if they work. I connected these clamps to a battery and just take the negative clamp here on the chassis of the glow plug, and I take this positive and put it to the end, and then the end starts to smoke and glow red hot. So if they doesn't work, it doesn't happen anything at all when you connect a battery to them. So just simply go through every one of them. Yes, so now the pump is in place, and I also had all the injectors out and replaced the flame washers under the injectors, torqued them back, and cleaned the injector pipes, reinstalled them with these. It's very important to have these supports here for the pipes, because if you don't have them, the pipes will vibrate very much and start cracking, usually here at the diesel pump, and you have diesel all over your engine. So you should make these very steady and good so they don't vibrate or anything. Also painted the wall cover black with some spray paint, not the best way, and I'm waiting for a 606 turbo plastic cover here, because the 605 has the small place here where it goes down for the intercooler pipe. So I will make some new intercooler pipes that goes down from the intake straight down to the ground and then to the intercooler. So it will be much cleaner with the straight plastic cover here. So this is kind of ready soon to go inside. I still have to weld some AN10 fittings to this oil filter housing for the oil cooler. So I'm still waiting for those. The gearbox is all done, ready to go behind the engine. Also the clutch will be installed. So then I can start building some adapter for the manifold and turbo. So let's see on the next episode if I will start doing that or start assembling the axles and all that. I'm really glad that everyone is following my vlogs, or what you call them, episodes on YouTube, and comment something what you think about this, and if you wonder something, just ask. Try to answer the best I can to your questions. Just keep watching, like and subscribe, and stay tuned.